Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Living Generationally podcast. I am your host, Brianna Laurie, and I'm excited that you are here, and I am excited to be here. And this podcast exists to challenge and equip you to live a life of legacy that leads to the future. When you're considering how your daily actions and decision making not only impact the current generation, but also the next generation as well, too. That is a mouthful, but it is true. It is a blessing to meet with y'all Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think this may be going up on Friday actually. Still working out a more consistent schedule to post the podcast and just wanting direction from the Lord and um yeah, so it's just kind of deciding on that. But I think in oh wait, actually I was gonna say what the podcast episode was about, but I think I'm gonna first start with um what I'm learning. Or I know last podcast episode I talked about wanting to add a new segment, and I did like a high and a low, and I like that, but I think I may switch it up. I think I'm gonna do like what I'm learning or something new that's going on in my life. I don't know. Well, it's gonna it may keep changing. I don't know. It may keep you on your feet, on your toes, but I am just kind of going with what I want to share and what the Lord is doing, and just getting excited about what He's doing. And um, yeah. So something that I am learning is kind of what I've been pondering on, what I pondered on before this video actually, and just kind of sitting right in the same spot. My cat, she's behind the camera, and I was just petting her and just thinking and talking to the Lord and just kind of decompressing because I was not feeling super overwhelmed, but just kind of lost my energy a bit, or my energy levels had went down. I was just talking to the Lord about that and just kind of thinking and praying. But I think something that I'm learning is how to slow down and trust the Lord and just be still in His presence. And sometimes I can just sit down and be still, and it just feels like still like my mind is running. And I think I'm just learning how to rewire my brain. My brain is so used to being in flight or fight mode, in this mode where I'm just go, go, go. And that even when I'm still sitting down and supposedly supposed to be resting, I still feel overwhelmed and so burdened. And I was just sitting here talking to the Lord about that, how I'm sitting down and being still. Yeah, I still feel burdened and overwhelmed, and my brain was slowly just starting to calm down and decompress a little bit, and just reminding myself that the Lord is good and that I can be still. And even in being still, that He still has accomplished it all. I think in my brain sometimes it's like, oh, like I need to be doing something, doing something, doing something in order to um feel like the Lord is pleased with me, or that I'm feeling successful. And it's like, wait, actually, no, me being still also points even more to the reality that what the Lord has done is more than enough and is enough. And but also not, it's discouraging myself to be productive, because I like being productive. I like getting things done, like getting projects done. I like working on projects, but just kind of learning how to be still as well and just do nothing. So I think that's something that the Lord is teaching me how to do, but also to not only be still, but also feel a stillness in my soul, and also in my mind as well too, that it's not constantly running and worrying and thinking about the next thing to do, but just truly just being still. And I think that actually may be the topic of today's podcast episode. Um, I also thought of it last minute, and also something that I wanted to just touch on, because I feel like that many of us want to be still, but then when we feel still, we feel so stressed and overwhelmed and anxious and worrisome. And um, and what do we do with that? Like, how do we process? How do we actually come to a place where we can actually be still and see that our life isn't meant to be always fast paced. And I think one of my desires, Lord willing, is to live like a slow paced life, but not that slow. I'm not doing anything, but slow in that I am aware, I am present, and I can see the task that I'm doing at hand, and that I'm not just rushing onto the next thing and just like trying to multitask, which is not a, no one can truly multitask. Um, so yeah, so that is like what I'm learning, but also what I want to like dive into this podcast episode and dive into what that looks like to actually rest and be still before the Lord. And especially in a fast paced world where we're kind of expected that if you're not doing anything, then you're behind. And that is kind of what I want to talk about and touch on in today's episode. Yeah. And without further ado, we're going to get into today's episode. I'll see you on the other side. So, yeah, I mentioned before that just feeling overwhelmed and wanting to be more still and aware and present, and not just feel so fast paced, like everything has to be, you got to get this done, and if this is not done, then you're behind. Or even if I'm doing that thing, not actually being present where, and not actually being present in what I'm doing, but constantly just jumping back and forth in my mind to what I need to do next, and rather than actually being present in the task that I'm doing at hand. Or even if I'm just resting and is actually resting and being still and being able to listen to the birds outside. It is springtime here, where I live, so just being able to listen to the birds outside and the surroundings, and just being at peace, and just taking a deep breath. And maybe you're in that season of life where it's busy, or you just wanting to learn how to be still and just rest and be aware of what you're doing, and not just get through it. And I think it's important that we learn how to be still before the Lord, that we learn how to be aware of what we're doing, because if we don't, we miss out on so many beautiful moments, what the Lord is wanting to do in our life. And even just being in His presence and enjoying Him, and also enjoying those around us and our family, but also the things that He has blessed us with. We can easily find ourselves wanting more and more and more things, when we actually realize in getting those things, there actually is not bringing the peace or the joy or the the comfort that we want. But what we're actually truly craving is a sense of stability, a sense of peace from the overwhelm, a sense of actually being aware of the things that are around us and enjoying them for what they are and what the Lord has blessed us with. And I think that has become something that is harder to achieve within our culture, because everything is so fast paced and everything is kind of expected to be that way. And if you're not living a fast paced life, then it's like, well, I'm not doing enough. I feel behind. Like, think with me. What are some thoughts that you have when you feel like you're like, when you sit still, you're not doing anything, you're just resting? Sometimes the first thoughts that come to mind is, I'm not doing enough, I'm just sitting here. And it's like, no, you're resting. Like, it's okay to rest. And I think many of us need to hear that it's okay to rest. And actually the Lord encourages us to rest, and to rest in Him, not to just be on this hamster wheel where we're just kind of running and running and running, and forgetting that there's more to life than just doing things. We're called to be still. We're called to be in His presence and to rest in Him. And it seems like such a shift in our culture, but we're so used to this fast paced life that it feels like this is all what we know. And it's it's crazy to even think that. Um, and I'm just thinking many of the chronic illnesses and diseases that are out there and the things that people are struggling with. I truly believe like there are other factors that play into that, but I believe that it comes from our mind just constantly running and our bodies just constantly running and never actually getting a chance to truly rest and be still. And it's sad. It really is sad. And I think that this is becoming, I also do think that people are starting to wake up a lot to this issue, that people are starting to realize that actually this fast paced life isn't a life that they want to live. They actually want to live a life where they're more self aware and present. And that's why we see so many different revolutions. Like one of them is like homesteading and this slow paced life and slow living and becoming more aware, getting connected back to the food source, not being a place of consumption but a place of production, and actually working with your hands and being present. And it's a beautiful movement, and something Lord willing I desire to be a part of in the future, just working with my hands and building a home, creating a home, growing my own food. That is definitely something I truly desire to do and am excited for that. Um, but I know the homestead revolution is not only coming from the desire to live a slow or paced life. That is one of the reasons, but I think the main reason is wanting to get back to the food source and wanting to take better care of our bodies and our family's health, because we know that the food industry and many big corporations have tainted food, and many of us want to get back to that true healthy living, not just where we are getting healthy food from the grocery store, which sometimes is actually not even the healthiest food. It's labeled as so, but it's actually not. But we actually want to be a part of the work of growing and creating and being a part of that process, because I truly believe as humans that is how the Lord created us. And I also believe that as part of rest as well too. I believe that rest for the soul also comes in us actually working with our hands and being connected to the soil and being connected to nature. And I think also that's why many of us are so stressed and overwhelmed, because we're so disconnected from nature. We're so disconnected from the Lord's intent for us as humans to be in community, to be around one another, to do life with one another, to take care of each other. And we live in a culture of individualism where it's like my desires are top priority. And if anyone else's desires interfere with that, I'm going to cancel them, or I am going to no longer basically like delete them from my life. And that is not the Lord's will. And we're seeing even more increased stress and a lack of community. And it's it's truly heartbreaking, because as I sit and ponder and think on just this idea of living generationally and living with legacy and creating a lasting legacy, a part of it is living a life that is intentional and filled with meaning, where you're connected to the food, you're connected to the people around you, you're building communities, you're building strong families, you are learning from others, you are adding back to society and not just taking. And I think that's something the Lord truly convicted me of earlier today. um, Something had came up in my heart, actually just felt a selfishness, and just like Lord, like this is my resources, like this is mine. And it's like, wait, no, Brianna, you got it wrong. And the Lord gently corrected me it's like everything that I have is the Lord's. And I actually find more rest and more peace when I live in such a way where I'm offering everything back up to Him, because I came into this world with nothing and I will leave this world with nothing. And when I have that perspective in my heart and mind, I'm reminded that actually all my resources has been given to me by the Lord to bless me and to, but also to bless others as well too. And the Lord is so gracious to bring me back to that reality that I can take a deep breath, I can work heartily unto Him, but I can also rest. And something else that I'm learning is that you can work, but rest can, well, work can also be a restful thing as well too. And what I mean by that is that you can work, and it can be strenuous, and it can be something that is hard. But I think also that sometimes we're so disconnected from the work that we're doing, and that we're not aware of the work that we're doing. And that also causes extra stress and anxiety. Um, I hope that makes sense. I know work can be a strenuous thing, and that it can be tiring at times, but I also believe it can be so fulfilling. But I think we're so disconnected from the work that we're doing because our brains are constantly running with different things and on to the next thing before we actually finish what we're doing. And um, yeah, I think that's something to think about, and something that I'm thinking about right now, and just processing that work is good. Work is really a good thing. And we know that because of the fall, it has become harder and more strenuous and challenging. But I truly believe that even with the fall, because before the fall, work was the Lord also blessed work. That work was still seen as a good thing even before the fall. But after the fall, it was just became harder and more challenging. But yeah, I say all that to say, um, to just bring out the the idea that a lot of us are lacking in rest, and that extends that comes from different things why we are lacking in rest. And you know better than I why you're lacking in rest and what is replaying on your mind. But I truly believe the Lord made us to be resilient, but our bodies has been so overwhelmed and so abused, if I can use that word for the lack of a better term. It's just constantly running and running and running and running that we're just becoming fatigued. Um, and we're staying stuck in this fight or flight mode. And I'm learning, I mentioned earlier, like something about rewiring the brain. And that just means rewiring your brain to believe that you can actually not live in flight or fight, but you can actually live being at rest and being at peace. And it's kind of like doing reverse psychology. It's like when you're feeling strenuous, just stopping, or are you feeling anxious, just stopping and just doing something or stretching to allow your body to relax and to remind your brain that you are safe, that you are safe, that you are safe. And I think many of us are not feeling safe and we're stuck. And I want to encourage you to bring that before the Lord and to enter into the rest that He has for us, because He constantly tells us in Scripture that He is our stronghold, that He is our strong tower, that He is our shield. I think it's Psalm 91 verse 1. Those who dwell in the shelter of the Most High will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I think I got it twisted around. Or those who, yeah, I think it's those who dwell in the shelter of the Most High will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I think that's right. And it's like, it's this dwelling in the Lord. And I think many of us are like, well, I read my Bible this morning and you checked it off, but it's like, no, it's dwelling in the Lord. making him our place of rest and comfort, going to him for anything and everything. Scripture encourages us to pray without ceasing, and to be offer up thanksgiving to the Lord. And I think that's also another thing, being grateful, and just even if you're not feeling grateful, just saying out loud what you're grateful for, and just allowing your mind to catch up and to actually believe it, um, and to walk in it. And yeah, I would love to continue learning more about ways to be more aware and be present and be self-aware. And if you have any ideas or feedback or anything that you want to add, I would love to hear from you down below in the comments, because I'm learning and I'm bringing you alongside the journey of me learning and growing. And I also want to learn from you, because I want to be a learner, and I want to be someone who can continue to learn and grow in the Lord, because there's so much I need to grow in. And I'm so grateful for the Lord and his loving kindness and his patience with me. And this is an area I definitely want to grow in, because as a woman who desires to be a mama one day, a wife and a mama one day, I get to set the temperature of my home. I get to set the attitude of my home. And I don't want my future husband and my kids to feel stressed all the time because I am just anxious and never at rest or at peace. I want to learn how to actually truly slow down and enjoy life. This life is more simple than what we actually make it to be. And yes, there are hardships, there are suffering, things happen, challenges happen, unforeseen things happen. But I truly believe even in the midst of that, we can still also learn how to just truly be at rest, knowing that the Lord is in control. And I truly want to get to that place of just feeling a restfulness in my soul, even when the world around me is going chaos, or things aren't going the way I desired or planned or expected. And I want you also to experience that restfulness that is found in the Lord, that even when a tragedy or something happens, yes, we can mourn, and I truly believe the Lord encourages that in Scripture. But we can also, behind those tragedies and the hardships and heartache, we can find a deeper inner peace, because it is founded in the Lord and it is grounded in the Lord as well too. And the deeper that our roots go, the harder it would be to actually uproot us. And I would encourage you in that. And yeah, and that's also a part of living generationally and living with legacy, is stewarding those day-to-day moments and actually being present and aware and learning to be at rest. And the more and more I learn about this, the more and more I'm starting to just praise and thank the Lord for a Sabbath, and just learning to truly take that day of rest and allowing my soul to rest. And I want to encourage you to process with the Lord, seek the Lord, and find rest in him. And even use you can also use practical tools as well too. um the video, I can also link the podcast episode I was listening about, that was talking about rewiring the brain, and just ways that you can rewire the brain by just doing different exercises or just gentle stimulation. I don't know if that word, but just ways you can kind of stimulate your nervous system, so you can actually get your body to relax and to remind yourself that you are safe. And even right now, I'm like, you are safe, Brianna. You can relax. And just reminding my brain, because my heart is relaxed and my heart rate is slow, but sometimes my brain is still running, and just allowing my brain to catch up, and just learning about that. And I can link that podcast episode that I watched below, so that if you would like to watch it, you can watch it too. And yeah, I hope you're encouraged by today's episode. And it was short. I think we're ending probably about like 25 minutes, or a little more than 25 minutes, but it was good. And I'm very grateful for it. Honestly, was actually not planning to post a podcast episode because I just wanted to reflect and just process and see like what living generationally is going to be. And but also I'm learning that I can't figure it out all before, that I just have to walk in faith and trust that the Lord will guide me along the way. So with that, that is the end of today's episode, and I hope you have an amazing, beautiful day and that you enjoy the warm weather that's coming our way. Um, and until next time, live with legacy leading to the future. Goodbye, friends.